My name is Charlie Kuhn. I live in Glenview, Illinois, a suburb about 20 miles north of Chicago, where I live with my family, my wife Susan and daughter Carolyn and my son Charlie Jr. I grew up, born and raised in the Chicago area. I grew up in a town called Highland Park. From there I went to Northbrook, the town next door, and then finally when Susan and I were married we moved to Glenview, Illinois, and we moved there in 1997. My father was in the Army Air Corps during World War II. When he was discharged from the Army, he went to Loyola University, got a bachelor's degree, and went into business selling cars. His first job was with Buick, then he went to Mercury, and when Oldsmobile introduced the V8 engine, he left Mercury so fast to sell Oldsmobiles. My brothers and I were pretty much raised car guys. Dad was taking us to car shows when we were knee-high to axles. I bought my first car when I was 15 years old. Prior to my driver's license, my brother had to drive the car home for me. My father's still very much interested in cars, as are my brothers and myself. It was a 1951 Willys station wagon with a 4-cylinder F-head engine. It wasn't a very pretty car, but I cut my teeth rebuilding the engine. As a matter of fact, it was a summer day. I worked in a camera store in Highland Park, Illinois, and it was my day off. And I decided to pull the engine out. So Dad came home from work and he said, "Hey Sport, how was your day?" And I said, "Oh, it was good. I pulled the engine out of the Willys." He said, "You what?" I said, "I pulled the engine out of the Willys." He said, "Well, what are you going to do now?" I said, "Well, I was thinking of rebuilding it." He says, "Well, do you have tools?" "No, don't you, Dad?" "Do you have a manual?" "No." And but anyway, so my dad helped me. He got a manual for me and borrowed some tools from the local shop and rebuilt the engine over the course of that fall and winter, and it started up and ran like a tomcat with sneakers. My favorite car is, of course, my '34 Buick 60 Series convertible coupe. It's a very rare car. They built 253 examples and about 10 are known to exist. In the summer, on nice days when my children aren't involved in a baseball or softball game, we'll start the old '34 Buick up and take it for a ride around town. A big highlight for them is when they have friends over, and they of course beg to get rides in the Buick, and of course their seating of choice is the rumble seat. The one car that I would love to get, to own one day, and this might sound funny, but when I was a small child, I was 8 years old or so, and the Opel GT caught my eye. And I said to my father, I said, "Dad, I really want one of those." He says, "Well, when you get older, Sport." I said, "No, Dad, I want one now." Of course, I was just a child, so my dad was friends with our local Buick dealer, and he went and saw his friend. His name was Grant Dean, and my dad came home with a small model, Opel GT model, and presented it to me. And that model, to this day, is on the dresser in my closet. So I would love to have an Opel GT one day. So I got involved in the classic car industry right around 2000, so about 15 years ago. My brother had a small dealership in the Chicago area, and I went to work for him. I found it very exciting meeting new people and traveling to see the individuals with cars and car collections, structuring the art of the deal and acquiring cars and making some very nice friends along the way, and I still keep in touch with very many of them. I saw the emphasis on the market really being steered toward the auctions. The concours events were gaining such popularity and momentum, and the auctions were just blossoming around these concours events that I thought that was probably the best place for me to be for my career going forward. One of the most fulfilling aspects of working in this industry is the people that I meet along the way. My grandfather had a phrase, "Don't make customers out of your friends, but make friends with your customers." And I have made some great friends in this industry over the past 15 years. I chose Worldwide Auctioneers because John Cruz and Rod Egan have been friends of mine since pretty much right about the time I got involved in this business. I enjoyed working with them when I had my own company, and it was a natural fit that I would approach John and Rod and list my services with them. One of the most memorable auction experiences that I've had with Worldwide Auctioneers was just last fall, when one of my consigners was hoping to attend the auction to watch his car sell. 2 or 3 days before the auction, his wife became very ill and they were unable to travel to the sale. So I had him on the telephone and I was reporting what was going on as his car was being sold. And once it passed reserve, it continued on and continued on and continued on. And my customer didn't believe me when I was telling him the prices it was achieving. And he was rather giddy at the end of the phone conversation. So that's probably the most memorable auction experience I've had, at least recently.